Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the fourth day of our short term course on soft skills, emotional intelligence, and effective classroom management. I'm glad to welcome you all back onto the course. Today, our first speaker is going to be Dr. Kanakambal Velusamy. Dr. Kanakambal Velusamy is a senior lecturer in the English Studies unit of the Language Department Institute of Teacher Education, Hippocampus, Perak, Malaysia. She has 32 years of teaching experience in the academic field as a language teacher and lecturer. She has PhD in TESOL, focusing on reading habits from the University of Science, Malaysia, Penang. She is also qualified German language teacher, obtaining her certification in Goethe Institute, Germany. Besides, she is awarded Excellent Lecturer in 2020 in her current teaching institute. She has compiled and published books on creative writing, Illumination in the Darkness, Alphabet Fables, Shaping the Mind, Moments of Reflection, Tales from UK, Pop My Poetry, to name a few. She has also published a few research papers in local journals. Her passion is on English and Malay language. She has often recited herself written poems in the Malay language during formal functions in schools and higher institutions. She is in the process of compiling her Malay language poems entitled Bikara Garam Dan Gula and another compilation entitled Play Scripts. As a language lecturer, she has very often contributed her knowledge and talent towards her students in performing live play performances. We are very much enlightened to have you among us, ma'am. The session is yours.
Thank you so much, Isha. May I start?
Yes, ma'am, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you to the chairperson. Blessed day I bid to the organizing committee for conducting a splendid short course virtually. It's actually a great honor for me to be part of this excellent team for this time around. Uh, I take this opportunity actually to thank Dr. S. Ganesan, a prominent figure in this organization who wrote me in to share a bit of my expertise. Yeah, not so much, but we would like to have it as a sharing session. Yeah, to add on, I would say that I started my teaching career in December 1989, and I've taught in primary, secondary, and boarding schools. Well, the sprint of me teaching in the Teacher Education Institute started only in 2007. And today, with the help of one of my students whom I have been teaching this semester, the beautiful Tarunisha, she would help me present the slides, and I will proceed when she's ready. Tarun, are you ready, girl? Tarunisha?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we shall start with the first slide. Okay, what I would be sharing with all of you is something that most of us dread, yeah? Reading or reading. So I'm just going to touch on a little bit on to be or not to be. That is the question that the reader has to answer. And of course, to be or not to be is a soliloquy that is very, very prominent and popular in Hamlet by William Shakespeare. If I'm not mistaken, it's in Act 3, Scene 1. And the whole meaning of this, to be or not to be, is actually Hamlet is trying to say about life, death, and suicide. So, in relation to that, I would say whether we are going to live a life or whether we are going to die or suicide ourselves if we are not reading. Okay, so I think it is very much interconnected. Because reading, if you ask me, and also every academician or educators, it is one of the basic skill that need to be mastered. Okay, next please. Okay, what comes into our minds when you look at all these words, alphabets, phonics, vocabulary, decoding and coding, comprehension, pronunciation, fluency, habit, attitude, literate, illiterate. What actually crosses your mind with the words listed under reading? Aren't they commonly applied to the reading skill? Definitely, I believe all of us are well versed with all these terms. Yeah. Even though reading is the most relevant skill for learners, irrespective of what language you are learning, I would say um, there is a big necessity in that. Yeah. And it is a receptive skill. So many of us tend to usually see this skill or this reading as a substitute to other languages. Sorry, to other skills such as listening skill, speaking skill, and writing. Because we receive, therefore we don't actually see the product like writing or speaking. They are production, so we do see that very clearly. However, reading being a receptive skill is often not seen. So if you were to look at a person, I mean, when you read a person, uh, not reading in terms of words or vocabulary or whatnot, but when you are reading a person, if you see that person is well articulated, you may have the tendency of saying that, oh, this person is well read. Or if that person is giving you certain quotes or relating to certain books that he has read, then you have this impression that this person is a learned person. Yeah, this is quite often an assumption that we make. That's why I have these words like, literate and illiterate. And if the person is surrounded with books, we believe that he is a nerd, he is a bookworm. But it may be the opposite. He may be the like of the person who likes to collect. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that we can discuss on reading actually. Yeah. Next slide, girl. Arun. Yeah. Okay. Now before we proceed further, let's ask ourselves what type of reader we are. Are we a polygamist reader? Well, I believe there are quite a number of learned persons here, and many of us are well versed with all these terms that I have put in blue. Yeah, polygamist would be a person who is a multi-task reader. He reads probably a variety of books of various genres. On the other hand, monogamist would be a reader who prefers to read maybe a specific genre or a specific feature of a book. So it's very singular reader. Whereas extrovert reader is a person who reads, it's a very adventurous person who grabs everything. For example, if there is a book fair, he or she goes and grabs everything and he reads. And he would, share the content of the books that he has read with others. And usually, it is an extrovert reader. You can see the physical part of this person, whereby he or she will be very lively, very happy, very down to earth, and loves to be around people. Okay. What about this introvert reader? I would say this person loves to stick to only one genre. If it is fiction, then it's all fiction. That is a favoritism. And this person actually loves to isolate. Yeah. And the exciting one would be altruist reader. Okay. This person actually is a helper or reader and recommends. He or she recommends a lot of books or reading list, yeah, to friends and family. Okay. And the last one would be neurotic reader. Yeah, this neurotic reader is actually very much,
Nama,
uh, yes,
Lama.
sorry, yeah, a person who is easily distracted and switches books. Okay, maybe in January starts with the literature book, and then or in February probably an academic book, which he or she doesn't finish. So this neurotic reader is a person who hardly finishes a book. So which category are you in? Okay. Uh, I think when I was a young person, I mean younger meaning I was in my teens, yeah, I was a polygamist reader. I love to collect books and then I will read a little bit of here, a little bit of there, but I often will not finish it. But as I grew older, you know, the reading style changed. Uh, I believe most Malaysians, uh, especially the female, yeah, we would have read Enid Blyton. Then we proceed to Mills and Boon, then to Barbara Cartland, then to John Collins or Spielberg. I think Dr. TJ will agree with me. So we had this kind of progress. But my questions that I post here is for us to reflect actually what type of a reader we are. If you are a student, what type of a reader you are. Yeah. And if you are in the teaching line, what type of a reader you are. Okay. Next, please. Yes, definitely. Okay, let's look at this chart. Okay, what actually is reading? Is it all about identification of alphabets and phonics and you have a vast vocabulary that makes you a great reader? Or if you are able to encode, decode, and you can comprehend the text that you are reading, does that make you a literate person? Uh, and also, if you are able to pronounce the words of the language that you are studying clearly, confidently, and if you are fluent in the language, can I call you a literate? Yeah, I'm leaving the other portion of this chart empty for you to add in. What is actually missing here in our 21st century reading atmosphere? Okay, I believe while listening to me, you are also processing and also progressing your ideas of what actually reading is to you specifically as a person. Uh, you maybe as an educator, um, and you as a future teacher, yeah, you may be like, look into this chart and finalize what is the end part of it. What is actually missing there? Yeah. Next, please. Now, everyone knows about this, I would say, the definition of reading. What actually is reading? Yeah, it's a multifaceted process involving word recognition, comprehension, fluency, and motivation. Yeah, motivation is actually something that is inborn for you to capture the tendency of understanding or the tendency of you reading. Yeah, if you are not motivated, well, you may be just reading per se without getting absorbed in the content that you are reading. like a Chinese proverb that says, a book is like a garden carried in a pocket. So if you are reading with passion, then the definition of reading for you is answered, I would say. And to add on, yeah, Francis Bacon, um, I think the person who actually said about reading makes a full man. Okay, he said some books should be tasted, some devoured, but only a few should be chewed and digested thoroughly. So people of those days, yeah, even Swami Vivekananda has said, a library is the great gymnasium where we go to make our minds strong. It's not talking about, you go to the gymnasium to be physically fit, but he is referring to the library as a gymnasium to make your mind grow stronger and more intellectual. Yeah, and reading is the key to the growing and changing needs of our interconnected world. Um, I do not favor in talking so much about our digital literacy yet. We'll look at it later. Yeah, but I would look at reading. For example, okay, I would like to share my experience when I was first studying the German language. Okay, I was lucky enough to be selected uh, to go to Germany, and I was in several parts of the country. Okay, reading, definitely I was well versed in English. Yeah, but going there to a new country with very limited vocabulary knowledge, it was very hard, very, very difficult. And I was an adult learner, and I still need to identify the characters of the language, the word recognition, to comprehend what is the meaning behind certain words or certain phrases. Okay, I had to be self-motivated. That's why I say the definition of reading at the present era is more of a motivation. Okay, and it has to be related to the context and purpose. Uh, I believe all of you also can recall the day that you were able to utter words or to recognize letters. If you were to ask me, I would say, uh, I remembered learning English through poems, through poetry. Okay, like this never gets out of my mind. Yeah, Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. So this poem recitation, this rhythm is with me until today. I'm already 58, and I learned this, I think, through my siblings when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old. Okay, without knowing the meaning of it. And when I was in my primary school, uh, Bahasa Malaysia, is the Malay language, is the core language that you need to read. It was compulsory. So to read content information from other subjects, I often recite that in Bahasa Melayu. You have syair, like na 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 na. Okay, if I were to say this, reading is the key to the glory. I did my reading in such a way without actually understanding, because it was merely a memorization for me to remember things. So the definition of reading, if you see, readers generate meaning in response to a text by using previous knowledge, processes, and strategies, which varies with context and purpose. So every individual has his or her own definition of reading. Next, please. Arun. Next slide, girl. Okay, theories. Of course, as educators, we cannot run away from theories. Yeah, Goodman's theory, I think all beginning English language learners, yeah, we are well versed with Kenneth Goodman's theory. It
Ma'am, you're on mute, ma'am.
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah, my internet connection on my laptop is not functioning well. So I think I will be using my handphone. I'm very sorry about this. Yeah, so I will proceed with the theories. Okay, Goodman's theory, which is very much related to psycholinguistics. Yeah, and then Piaget's theory, whereby we look more into the child's recognition or process of reading and language acquisition by first gathering sensory and motor information. And of course, Matthew's theory, which was highlighted by Stonovic in 1986. This is a theory that can be very much connected to us at the moment because you see in the education community, this Matthew effect refers to the idea that in reading, as in other areas of life, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. What does this mean actually? Yeah? So if a child is not given or fails in the early reading stage, uh, this child becomes very poor in reading and may progress to become or disliking the uh, reading. Okay, hold on. Tarunisha, you can still change the slide for me, right? Girl? Yes, thank you, girl. Okay, what is reading or literacy in this 21st century? I would say we need to look into the traditional view and the cognitive view. Okay, as educators, which view do we emphasize in teaching the reading skill? Bottom up, top down, interactive? Yeah. So bottom up is all related to the traditional view by Noonan, 1991, who refers to this as a reading, which is basically on encoding a series of written symbols, yeah, on written symbols, and it is making sense of the text. Whereas the cognitive view, top down, is more on Ramalhart, yeah, 1977, which describes schemata as the building block of cognition. It is used in the process of interpreting your sensory data, in retrieving information from memory, organizing goals and sub-goals. Okay, the wordings are too small for me to read. And of course, the metacognitive, that is also, I'm trying to also use, sorry, I'm also trying to get to my laptop if possible, because the letters on my handphone, they are very, very small. Okay, metacognitive view on reading, it by Block 1992. There is now no more debate on whether reading is a bottom-up, language-based process or top-down. It's, if you ask, the digital literacy is overruling everything now. However, is it going to revolve in such a way that we are going to forget the physical book? Yeah, let me try this. Next slide, girl, please. Okay, I'm trying to join using this, see whether I can get through or not. Okay, let's ponder about our perceptions or your perceptions of reading. Okay, students, how do you actually perceive reading? Is it a hard task, a very difficult task for you to handle among all the language skills? I believe many of you will say yes. Yes or not, students? Yeah, when you are given a text to read, or to complete your assignments, you are requested to read a number of books. I think you will be a little bit reluctant. What about teachers? Yeah, teachers, if you ask me, I would say, are they reading for themselves? Their perception of reading may be focused on their pupils and their students. They would be emphasizing, I would say, emphasizing on how to read, what to read, when to read, and things like that for the students. Okay. My PhD was on reading habits and reading attitudes among primary school English language teachers. And the findings reveal that teachers do read. However, they were not reading sufficient materials. I would say they were not extensive readers. They were only intensive readers, whereby they read only for certain purposes. Another finding revealed that they read because they need to teach. So there were very limited reading for self-satisfaction. Okay. Another finding revealed that they wanted to read. The interest was there. However, the reading materials were very expensive in Malaysia. Okay. And another experience I would like to share, when I took my students to India, we visited two schools, one rural school in Pudukkottai and another school in Chennai. Okay, they were government schools. And what we observed that the teachers were very much involved in teaching English. And their reading capacity revealed that my foundation students were finding or were in awe. Wow, these teachers are so well versed. They speak with vocabulary that need to be translated, or you need to find another synonym. Okay, so the perception of teachers on reading differs, I believe, also where language is concerned and also where the country is concerned. Okay, lecturers, we have to be very, transparent, whereby at present, I don't want to talk about other lecturers, but basically, we hardly have time to read. Why so? Because our burden of teaching comes into the in our working environment where we feel that we need to find time to actually read what we like. Okay, so the extensive reading is very limited. Maybe the lecturer reads, I would say, only what is related to her or his teaching for that particular semester. So our perception of reading there differs. Okay, educators, academicians, or scholars. If you were to ask Dr. G, he would say that he is a scholar and he has written quite a number of international academic, articles to be published in the international journals. So can we say that his perception of reading is higher than a student, than a teacher, or a lecturer? So I would say, okay, I'm coming back to the laptop. I wonder why. I'm very sorry about this. So maybe later towards the end. Yeah, thank you so much. So I
So
will
I will
switch
switch
this
this
off.
off. Okay. Now, maybe later towards the end of our discussion, then some people's or some the audience who are listening, you can give your perception of reading. Yeah, maybe you have a different version. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the evolution of literacy. Okay, in 1920, it is stated that, by UNESCO, yeah, 12% of the population could read and write, while today 86% of the population are literate. That means they are able to read. Okay, and UNESCO, being the agency that monitors literacy around the world, also says that there is still a cause for concern with low rate with these low rates still existing around the world. Okay, UNESCO has been at the forefront of global literacy efforts since 1946. So, what they have found out would be, next please, to advance literacy as an integral part of lifelong learning. This is based on the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. UNESCO has taken a few approaches to promote literacy worldwide, with an emphasis on youth and adults. Yeah, next. And what are these approaches that UNESCO is targeting on? Is on building strong foundations through early childhood care and education, providing quality basic education for all children, and scaling, this would be the most important, I would say, yeah, scaling up functional literacy levels for youth and adults who lack basic literacy skills. That there you can see that reading takes up the most important part here to upskill a youth or an adult. Yeah? And also UNESCO intends to develop literal environments. Um, like in my previous slides, I was telling about, to be literate or illiterate. Where is the core definition to say that you are literate or illiterate? Yeah, you have to bear that in mind. Okay, which country reads the most? In hours, I'm talking about hours spent in reading per person each week. Wow, that is very surprising. This is in 2020, research done by World Reading Habits. Yeah? India, they spend about 10 hours, 42 minutes reading per week. And the least would be USA, surprisingly. But if you were to travel to the Western countries, you will see that people read everywhere, in the bus, in the train, wherever possible that you can read. Yeah, and what actually is the statistic revealing to us? Who reads more? How much time do they spend on reading? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, which country reads the most? Let's look at Asia. I don't want to look at the Western countries yet. Yeah, the average number of books read each year. The highest would be Japan, South Korea, China, and Singapore is considered the most literate country across the Asia Pacific region, with a literacy rate of almost touching 100%. That is something that we need to look into seriously. Such a small country. Yeah, even though it is a small country, we cannot look at the size of the country. We need to look at the people who are living in it. Right? And Singaporean girls are bigger readers than boys. This is talking about, the number of female readers and male readers. Okay, and in Asia, of course, the online reading is very, very huge in China. Okay, and if you see the following slide, you can also understand that China publishes the most number of books. Yeah. Okay. There are 455 million people in China who read online literature in 2020. Okay, that makes 32% of the population is huge readers. Next slide, please. Okay, pandemic. Yeah, coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic has also given a very silver lining, unexpected silver lining, where reading is concerned. Some statistics and some research shows that due to COVID-19, people are not reading. They are watching Netflix. Yeah, that is their favorite pastime. But surprisingly, this physical book sales, yeah, it may have dropped in favor of the digital books. But the global pandemic and subsequent lockdowns and social distancing has caused 35% of the world to read more. This is quite unbelievable. Yeah, with 14% of people saying that they read significantly more during the pandemic. Yeah, if I were to refer to my own family, I would say that my husband reads less. But when I ask him, aren't you reading some physical book? He would, of course, say that, hey, look, I am reading. So this gadget has a lot of stuff that people ignore by saying that you are not reading. So physical book and e-learning and online learning has two different conceptual thinking on people where reading is concerned. Yeah, next please. Okay, the main issue now would be, do you actually need skills or strategies in reading? And what are skills? What are strategies? Which is the most needed criteria for you to be acknowledged as a reader. Okay, what is the difference here? How do you differentiate between these two, skills and strategies? Which one is more important? Should we teach one more than the other? That means you deliver the skills of reading more and you lessen the strategies of reading. Let's see the next slide. Okay, reading skills. This is a skill that need to be attained by all of us from a young age. Reading skills are abilities that pertain to a person's capacity to read, to comprehend, interpret, and also decode the written language and text. And the skills include phonics, word recognition, vocabulary, decoding, and fluency. So to be a proficient reader, you need to possess all these vital skills. And by bringing literacy into every classroom, especially for educators like us, okay, by bringing literacy into your classroom, your students would receive this added exposure and learn that reading is an essential life skill. It's not a skill that is needed to make you a better reader, but it is an essential life skill. Next. And in this 21st century, of course, literacy cannot be parted. You cannot part literacy with technology. Literacy skills increasingly reflect that technology use and the abilities are necessary to problem solving, collaborating, presenting information through multimedia. As technology becomes more readily available to all students, concept of literacy they change. I would definitely say my students are well versed or better readers where technology is concerned. They are well versed in their multimedia, in presenting materials or their presentation using various types of multimedia information. So this is a necessary tool to increase the literacy skill among our students. Okay, next please. Okay, the ability to learn from text changes over the course of one's education and as a result of life experience. Okay, we can relate this with our own self. How does our education transform from one stage to another based on our life experience? We may be ardent readers, we may passionate ourselves in reading, but life experience also play important part in making you a better reader. Okay, the role that technology can play in helping students, and when you look at students to better read and comprehend text, what are the rules of technology? Do they actually make our students better readers and comprehend text better? I would say yes, because um, in the 60s, 60s, I would say 60s, 70s, 80s, even 80s, yeah, we need to have the physical book to read, to comprehend, to do our tasks, to explain things. But now everything is at the fingertips, and you can ask Mr. Google anything, and everything is simplified. Okay, if you were to read Shakespeare's literature, yeah, you need not read that thoroughly anymore because there are simpler version, abridged version. They are put in simpler English language, and there are so many other sources where the literature text gives an easy way out for students to comprehend. So technology actually plays a big role, yeah, in reading. So students who may dread to read the original text may now want to still read because there are simpler versions. Yeah, so technology plays a very crucial role, yeah, in making students read more. Also, the importance of education and professional development for teachers to improve the reading ability of your students. I think this is well conducted by institutes uh, to prepare a platform for teachers to improve themselves and also the reading ability of their students. Other than that, the infrastructure that exists in institutions also encourages, I wouldn't say discourage, but encourages to certain extent to incorporate the reading instruction in their curricula. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay, again talking about reading skills. Yeah, reading skills significance is also a very uh, a mind of field. It is very vast. We read functionally to get by in our world, in our conception of delivering the information and things like that. To read signs, to follow direction, to order food, to check our bank balance. Everything is now done like using your reading skill. Um, when I mentioned earlier about literate and illiterate, maybe we would have come across people whom we think are illiterate, but they are well versed in using their gadget to transfer money for their children via the handphone, via online banking. So they need to be literate. They may look like they are illiterate, but they know how to read and they know how to uh, relate the information and do the transaction or whatnot. Yeah. So yeah, at a deeper level, yeah, we read because it brings us pleasure. Most often when we talk about reading or we make an assumption on a person about reading, we look at whether that person is reading for pleasure. So is he or she an extensive reader? Yeah. And of course, we also read so that we can better understand what's behind the words, the images, who is privileged in the text. This is often done in literature books. What about books on maths and science? What about other social science books? Uh, how do our students read this? Okay, again, another example I would want to give here would be between my two children, yeah, my son and my daughter. In Malaysia, you have to sit for an important examination, which is called SPM. And only after sitting for this exam, you can finalize or understand which path or which career you want to choose. So while waiting for the result, my daughter sat for the chemistry paper. And then, as a parent, I was eager to know, uh, did my daughter do or answer the chemistry question correctly? So I was browsing the chemistry textbook, yeah, looking for the answer. I'm not a science person, yeah. And my son came back from school and I asked, he was in Form 4, daughter is in Form 5. Could you please tell me which page or where can I find this answer for this question? And immediately what my son said is that, please refer to this page. You can get the answer. Whereas my daughter, who just sat for the exam, was unable to even tell me which topic or whatnot. What would have been the reason? Is my son what you call an expert in reading? No, no, no. I don't think so. He read for exam purpose. So he read, I came to a conclusion that he read for exam purpose. He did not read to actually understand the complete content of it. But then later, when he pursued his studies, he became a passionate reader where that particular topic was concerned. So you see, the privilege of reading a text and getting the meaning out of it differs from one person to another. Yeah? And we also read to be part of a literate community, and through conversations face to face and online, we share, we argue, we confirm ideas. So if you are a good reader, you read vastly. I think when you have issues to argue, to debate on, you will have a better expansion of vocabulary to deal with it. Okay, next please. Okay, the possession of a good reading skill will enable the individual to be able to assimilate a written word within a short period while reading. So students need to have this good reading skill. Okay, and if an individual develops a reading skill, it is a lifelong activity. It doesn't stop. It continues forever. Yeah, reading skill can only be developed through constant reading, and to inculcate this reading culture or habit, it should be a hobby, I would say, because habit and attitude, reading culture, they are all of different designs. Okay, next please. Arun? Okay, reading strategy. So we were looking at two things, yeah, skills and strategies. So reading strategies, it is actually a broad term used to describe the planned and explicit actions that help readers translate print into meaning. Yeah, and strategies are often linked with study skills, whereas skill is something that is a compulsory thing that you need to possess. However, strategies are some techniques or some methods or approaches that you use to enhance your reading capacity. Yeah, and these are the latest ones that we are looking at, 7 cognitive strategies that makes you an effective reader. Yeah, to be an effective reader, I believe you need to activate, you need to infer, you need to monitor, clarify, you need to question, you have to do a lot of search, selecting, summarizing, visualizing, and organizing. These are strategies that maybe the teachers can use while expanding the student reading skill. These strategies, the 7 cognitive strategies by Elaine K. McEwen, is something that is in trend now. And of course, when you talk about reading strategies, what may have triggered in your mind would be the KWL, the SQ4R, and things like that. But she puts it in a way whereby she says by having these 7 cognitive strategies, you may possibly become an effective reader because you are activating. First and foremost, you will be like, activating your brain cells. Yeah. Then you will be inferring what you are reading. Later, while monitoring your content or the reading text, you are clarifying by maybe applying KWL. Yeah, what I know, what I want to know, and what I have learned. Yeah, and while questioning, maybe you want to use this strategy as Q or R, whereby you survey, you question, you read, you research, you relate, or you review. So these are some cognitive strategies that teachers can apply to their students to make them better readers. Okay, continue. Next slide, please. Yeah, the continuation of that. Yeah. Okay. Are you going to the next slide, girl? Slide 23. I think this is supposed to come first. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. The continuation of the 7 strategies. Yeah. Summarizing, restating the meaning of the text in one's own words. Here, probably the teacher can be more progressive in teaching the students how to rephrase, how to enrich their vocabulary by using synonyms and things like that. Yeah, and finally, the visualizing, which is a common trend in reading, because very often we tend not to read thoroughly. We often tend not to skim, we scan. And the most likely part of it is that when we read, we want to see pictures, we want to see graphic, we want to see colors. So this infographic or IT maps will actually help teachers to make their students better readers by applying this strategy. It's already 9:30. I have 2 more slides. Next, please. Tarun. So, Noga, please go back to, yeah, thank you. What is that we are hoping for where reading is concerned in this 21st century learning? What are students expecting? What are their expectations? What are the teachers or educators' expectations where reading is concerned? What are our hopes? I'm posing a lot of questions, right? Okay, next slide. The final slide, yeah. Well, questions to ponder. Okay. As educators, what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on skills per se? Are we going to focus on strategies in this 21st century learning, in this digital literacy atmosphere? So will we be able to compete with the technology? We here, I'm referring to both teachers, educators, and also students. Okay, what will happen actually to the physical material? I'm talking about the authentic materials. What's going to happen to all this? Is it just going to be an archive? Yeah. And the final question that I'm posing is: are we selective readers or seasonal readers? So for educators, probably I would say we may be selective. And to students, maybe I would say you are seasonal readers. You read only during that particular time where you need to know the content of certain texts to be applied in your coursework or to be applied in your examination. So what are we? So I would end by posing all these questions for us to ponder on reading. So to be or not to be, it depends on you as the reader. Thank you. So maybe, you know, we have quite a number of students and also scholars here would want to give their opinion, or if they have any questions to ask, maybe we can answer those questions in a collective manner. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Miss Kanaga,
Yes, sir. Yes, Prof.
are you doctor or just teacher or doctor? Doctor, eh?
Yeah. I'm in IPG Campus Eco.
Oh, okay. Nice doctor. Thank you. Then we're
Yeah,
talking
Dr.
about,
G wrote me in for today's session.
all right. My question is, you see, teachers, not the old style. I think you all produce teachers. Okay, what are the latest technique that you all going to change the mindset of the young? Because you see, after 97, people born is a Z generation. Z generation, we're having problem in university. So if the teachers don't play role, when they come to the university, we cannot control them because we are in the university only 3 years. We are just producing the manpower to the next to the our country human capital development. We are not going to teach them respect, moral, English. All these actually we're wasting our time because we are not going to do that, and that's what the main problem in the university. My question is, what are the preparation IPG, I mean Institute of the Perguruan Malaysia, I mean in Malay, in English Teacher Training College, to prepare because these young people, most of them is super student, A student, not like our time, doctor. Our time we are
Yes,
not
yes, definitely. To work the hard way.
mid-age student, we are okay. But the A student, they just come for the salary only. No, you ask them why I come to teaching because the job, permanent job, government job. But the victim is our kids, all right? So, and our kid is a very vibrant. 2 years old. Yesterday, I saw one baby can scroll down the phone. She's very intense. 2 years old. I observed that. What happened to the when come to the school and so on? So, what are the things you making changes in the college?
So your question is what we are doing in IPT to promote
The
women
preparation,
or
new techniques and new method to deal with this kind of people, and what kind of teachers going to produce, because these teachers come to college, they are actually super student. When they go to school, are they ready to face this problem with the young kids coming out, this kind of mobile, we call 4.0 IR and so on?
Prof, regarding the curriculum and things like that, I think we have not much say on that. But at the end of the day, this is my personal opinion, I would say, the lecturer himself or herself need to play a prominent role in encouraging the youngsters who join the system. You see, if the person who is teaching is passionate and is talking things about the futuristic of the nation and instills or cultivates the interest of the students, there are various ways of the person doing that. I mean, the person I'm referring to, the lecturers. I think that would be a beginning spot for the students. But you may also come across certain people, certain teachers or educators who just throw things to the students and, leave them with a blank mind. Then we cannot blame the students. So the beginning, if my personal view again, would be what role the educator plays. That educator has to signify or reflect a vast pedagogy of knowledge. If he or she reveals that to the students, I think indirectly or directly, our students can detect that. And teachers or educators or even lecturers, they need to also suggest books, even though the students can get everything online. But I think coming from our generation, we need to cultivate our students' interest in touching the physical book, possessing it, buying it, making it meaningful. Okay, and if this is done regularly, uh, I trust that the students will be good readers. Prof, did I answer your question?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, doctor. Thanks a lot.
Any other questions or just sharing? Because I thought it's supposed to be very light and easy. Yeah? Do you have anything to share? Anyone? So I will definitely share this with Dr. Ganesan, and I think he can proceed giving the slides to the necessary person in charge. Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Any other questions or sharing? So if there is none, I think I would like to again thank Dr. Ganesan and also the organizing committee for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my knowledge with all of you. Thank you so much. Nice to meet all of you online. I think virtual learning due to pandemic has done a great thing. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to have this kind of meeting or session if it has been face to face. So this was a great opportunity. Thank you, everyone.